to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence in You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Rebecca Miller, along with Kristina Liu, the radio show producer of Project Independence in You, and also the Director of Senior Citizen Affairs for the Town of North Hempstead's Project Independence. And she really is the facilitator of Talk of the Town. Also, we cannot forget about our Otto Los, our dedicated co-host and dear friend. How are you guys? Wow, we have to definitely just mention the first hour of Project Independence, which is airing when you're listening, will be on March 8th, which was with the supervisor, Jennifer DeSena. And she spoke all about the 2024 state of the town and the accomplishments that she has guided through her first term, and just kind of her vision. So it was a really good first hour of the show.
Yeah, and she's such a wonderful supporter of our program. And what I personally I'm a little biased. What I do love about her is that she does come from a human service involved background. So she really gets a lot of the things that Project Independence is trying to educate and help people on, and especially this show. We literally always talk about mental health and certainly physical health. So I think it's great. Especially I'm so glad we touched upon the substance misuse committee and really how important is those message. And I know exactly the commercial she was talking about, with the fentanyl awareness, and they are so jarring, but they need to be that jarring. So I think it was just such a really jam-packed interview. And if you missed it, obviously, you could look back on our archives on our Project Independence website, the WCWP YouTube page, and of course, you could watch us on North Hempstead TV and North Shore TV. So great interview. So thank you to Supervisor getting certainly has a busy schedule, but made time a full hour for us to dive into all these great stuff. So it's just, I'm always jealous, that I don't live in the town of North Hempstead. After these kind of segments, I'm like, this is really, I'm really missing out.
You're not going to believe what I did yesterday.
What did you?
I started working on the Fun Day Monday flyer for the summer. So summer's coming.
That's right.
It was so weird to do that. Here we are in March, but you know what? It's right around the block. So Fun Day Monday.
Yeah. That's right. But it's nice. It's fun because this is when, we're in the time when all the fun spring events are coming out, and you could taste summer. So it's really quite the fun time. So we're and you're gonna be celebrating your birthday soon, so there's a lot going on.
Kristina, our birthdays are so close together.
You have a date for the first Fun Day Monday?
We do have a date. It is July 8th. And of course, that goes for 7 consecutive weeks. And if it's a rain date, it's that Thursday. So I think we did have to implement it once or twice last summer. But another thing that happens we talk about is, and when I first started with the town, this never happened. But in the last 3 or 4 years, it's the heat.
Because I actually think that's what happened, in previous years, more so even than rain, was that the heat was just, the index was just too high, which would have put everyone, at risk. So it does seem to be like more of an occurrence, certainly. But safety first always. And
you said
shout out
birthday
to the whole team.
Birthdays.
You
Christine and
birthdays coming up.
We do. First, Beck has her birthday.
And Rebecca
has then I have mine.
She's going to get her card.
I'm going to get my PI card.
I know. See, unfortunately, I said Rebecca technically can't because she doesn't live in North Hempstead,
Right.
So she's kind of at a disadvantage. Right. She's just going to have to move in with you, Otto, and then, and
well, I have a basement that as long as when my son's not here, then you'll have to move out for a couple of days.
I should just be like, what's the word? When you grant someone, I can't remember a word. Someone in, even though they're not in, grandfathered in, grandmothered in, cousined in. I don't know.
Well,
that's right.
Maybe you get yourself a little cot over at Clinton Martin Park.
There you go.
Sometimes I feel like I live here.
Very exciting. And I can't be so Beck will be turning can I say your age, Beck? Are you comfortable with me giving you the big 60, which should give everyone should be jealous. Looking at Rebecca, I'm not just saying that because I'm your friend, but you make 60 look good, girl. And so a
Thank
shout
you.
out to you. But that is on March 23rd. She will be
That's
turning the
right.
big 60. And she's got some exciting plans. She will be in London
That's right.
traveling.
I will
Oh,
be
you'll be in
traveling.
London?
Well,
Hmm.
not from, I mean, it is for my birthday, but I'll
Yes.
be back in New York on that weekend. Yeah, I'm going to London and I'm going to Paris.
Hmm.
And my grandfather, my mother's father, lived in London, and they moved to the States when he was probably 8 years old, give or take. We're not really 100% sure. And his parents, my great grandparents, came to London. We're not sure what year, from Poland. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to visit the area where they're from, which the area we believe is called Stepney, and it's within the sound of Bowes Bells, which is church, St. Mary Le Bow. I've done a lot of research.
Mhm.
So it's St. Mary Le Bow Church. And that is kind of where they knew back in the day where they lived based on the sound of
The
the
church
bells.
bells. Oh, that's so
Because you
cool. I
would
like that.
go by parish, like that's how it was. You knew where you lived. You lived within the St. Mary Le Bow Church, and it's very, very historical. So there's so much history with this church. I've been obsessed with it. And it actually was the last time it was rebuilt. It's had a lot of destruction and history over the years. Was the year I was born. It was
And this is your
complete.
mother's father?
Yeah, it's my grandpa, my grandfather
So he came
David.
from England
Yes,
and moved to the Bronx, basically.
yes, yep. So my grandfather was one of seven, and the first four children were born in London, and they came. My grandfather was the youngest of the four, and then when they moved to the Bronx, they had three more. My twin aunts, Etty and Lil, and my uncle Hi. So yeah, and then they all lived in the Bronx until I was actually born there. I was born in the Bronx, and then we moved to Regal Park for a few years before we moved out to Long Island. But I'm very excited to, I mean, obviously not just go, I mean, I'm going to London, I'm a rocker. So I,
Mhm.
can't wait to go to Abbey Road Studios. I'm doing a lot of music stuff in the evening. And we're going to Paris. We're taking the high-speed train for a day and all that other things. But I've always been, as a Jewish woman, it's a very strange thing to say, but I've always been very drawn to churches.
Yeah.
And when I was in Italy, we did a lot, we went to a lot of churches. Obviously, went to the Vatican, the Sistine Chapel. We did all that kind of stuff. But there's always been this, my very best friend growing up was Lutheran. And I would go to church with her and her family, and her family and my family were very, very close growing up. And then they moved away, and I'm still best friends with her. She's 2 years older than me, and she's meeting me in London. So she's flying from Florida, and we're
Oh,
meeting at
cool.
Heathrow, and where that's who I'm going with. So it's kind of, and they're from the Bronx too, but that's just kind of coincidental. So it's kind of interesting. I'm really excited to kind of look into this area, the Stepney area, the area of St. Mary Le Bow
Yeah.
Church, which is completely a Cockney part of
Hmm.
London. It's very heavily Cockney, and so it's
It's
just
so
very
cool.
interesting. I'm just kind of really excited to
So
go there and go to the church. Like I
Yeah.
just can't wait. I'm
now
really.
your grandfather was Jewish in that community with the churches.
Yes, yes.
So
So
he was
that, but
exposed
that's
to a lot of other religions, basically.
right. Yeah, there was a
Right.
lot of religions, but also in like New Orleans in Louisiana, they go by parish too.
Hmm.
So it's kind of
Right.
European. So
Hmm.
if you've
Well,
ever been
Jamaica,
down
the
there,
island, I know does too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be going there. And I don't know, I'm just drawn to it. And I am
Yeah, and I think
I'm
that's so cool, Megan. And as we've talked a lot about this, Otto's kind of genealogy, looking back
Yeah.
into things and piecing things together. I know you've been, and clearly with this trip, and it's just, it makes it so special because I mean, it's London, so clearly that in itself is exciting.
Yes. I
But to
can't
have
wait.
this historical kind of family component, I think is just so cool for all the listeners to hear. And I always think back when you were saying, you've always wanted to do these trips and you've done some really epic ones in recent
Yeah.
years. And I think that it really, for everyone listening, shows you, like, listen, Beck was, a working mom. She was raising kids, and now her kids are older, so she's able to go on these things, and I think it's so important for the listeners listen to that, that you can do these kind of trips like whenever you want, and I think it's
Well,
it's really cool to have that, to combine it with, kind of tracing, different lineage things too. So
now, do
really,
you
really
have
awesome.
that
It's gonna be.
documented, what you just talked about?
What do you mean? Do I have it
Do you
documented?
have it documented, like in a family tree or ancestry, family
Well, I
tree
mean,
maker?
I've done Ancestry, and unfortunately, there isn't a lot of documentation on it. We do have records from Ellis Island, a little bit of that, and but in terms of what I'm doing, I'm documenting it. I have done research, and I'm constantly sending text messages, between my mother, my uncle, my cousin, he's much older, all about their parents and what they remember. And everybody remembers a little bit about where they're from. And I mean, most of my uncle, everybody's been to London, but they
Mhm.
haven't really looked into this. And the story of Bose Bells has always just kind of,
Mhm.
it just fascinates me, like that, here is this church, and my grandfather was so young when he came here,
Mm.
but he always did have a little bit of an, now that I think about it, and so did my Aunt Millie. I mean, I had an Aunt Millie, she was like Auntie Mame, and she too had it. But I think that because it was a little Cockney, that
Mhm.
it was a lot stronger. And then
Right.
when they came over, because of course my grandfather was the youngest, so my Aunt Millie was one of the older ones, so she was a little bit older and lived there a little bit, a little bit longer. So yeah, I'm excited about the meaning of this trip, really, and like
Yeah,
the whole
awesome.
nine
You
yards.
So
got,
cool.
you
I
Otto?
have to,
cannot wait to
you,
hear about it.
it sounds like you should be the family bearer of putting this stuff together. Get yourself this program, Family Tree Maker, which synchronizes with Ancestry.
Yeah.
And you know,
We
you,
have been doing it, and I mean, I can't say who because I don't know if she'd be okay with it right now, but I'm working with someone who's doing Ancestry here also at the town, and we are both 100% Ashkenazi, so Central European. We both did the Ancestry, and we found out that we have a distant cousin that we're both related to. It's my third cousin is this person's fifth cousin or something like that. So we have this one person. I mean, we're all related, I guess, when it comes down to it. I don't know, maybe we're like, a 10th cousin, but this particular person who is my third cousin is my great grandmother's great nephew. So that's how it would be. Like there's some kind of great grandparent cousin thing going on. So it is very interesting, Otto. And we did
Yeah.
have a wonderful guest. Maybe we should have her back, Kristina.
Yeah, well,
Remember?
that's what I was just thinking. She was so wonderful where she really broke it down because I do
just
think, that's such a cool thing, especially, obviously when you're retired and there's more time, you're able to really like dive into these things. But I was always so taken with Otto's story about
Yes,
tracking down,
Otto's
it's
fascinating.
great. It
well,
was
I'm
such a, and I,
actually, I just in the process of copying and transferring a lot of this to two of my daughters to take over. That's another part of this, right? Because
Mhm.
I do all this work for 20 years and then it goes poop, down the tubes. Uh,
Right.
One of the things I suggest to you is that Ancestry is in the cloud, period. All right. You can have a program, there's several of them, but one I use is called Family Tree Maker, which is actually resident on your computer.
Mhm.
All right. And that synchronizes with Ancestry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
you then have a
And that one's free,
controlled
right?
copy of it yourself which you can back up to the cloud or on an external hard drive. I feel that, you do a lot of work, and to
Yeah,
count
you want to
on
cover all your
only
bases.
on Ancestry having it is shaky, in my opinion. All right. There's just too much work involved.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of
And it's
work
not
involved.
expensive. It's a very good program. I've been using it for 20 years through all its different upgrades, and it's not expensive. It's like
Yeah.
$80 or whatever, and it's a
I think
one
it's
Maybe
shot.
we
such a
need a
fun thing. I
demo from
really,
you.
I really encourage people, and I say this often, to take on a project like this for just so many reasons, especially as you're getting older, you want to preserve your history and you want to connect to people. And that's one of the beauties of having like a social media presence because, you can find, because I think you actually found one of your cousins via Facebook or something, and you were able to kind
Well,
of
I actually found my
communicate.
grandfather.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so, like, you were able to piece these different things, so I think it's such a good project, especially for someone, who might be feeling a little isolated or whatnot. And it really gives you, and I just think it's so cool to
well,
preserve,
some
a
people,
family
in
history.
all honesty, really don't care. Uh,
Yeah. And of course, that's not
and
for you,
that's
right?
their option.
Yeah.
Everybody has choices that they make.
Mhm.
I happen to have found it interesting, and just like you, Beck, I went to Germany, where my father and mother both came from.
Right.
Actually saw the homes that they lived in when they were kids. They were rural farm people. Uh, the port, I actually have a video of where the ship left when they came to this country.
Really? That's so
Yeah,
fascinating.
Amazing.
I have all the paperwork. My mother saved everything in terms of the paperwork when she came here in 1928. Uh, Almost looking back on it now, 100 years. Uh, and my father's aunts, I learned again through all this discovery, were came here like 1902, and I didn't know that until I dug in and found all these papers, shipping manifests, and
That
all
is
kinds of
so
stuff.
fascinating. Otto, actually, we have to take a quick break, but after the break, Kristina, Otto, and I will continue talking about what's going on in the town of North Hempstead. You're listening to Project Independence in You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence in You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. So let's hear some stuff that's going on in the town.
Well, if you guys could
Kristina?
only see my desk, you would certainly see all the stuff that's going on in the town. I have a lot that I want to go over today. And also, we want to remind people that this weekend is Daylight Savings, March 10th, I believe, Sunday. We'll be turning the clocks, spring ahead, which is always nice. So that's, it's even more, we could really just taste the spring and the summer air, which is really lovely. So mark that down. Otto, I definitely, before we dive into all the town stuff, you have been sharing some personal stuff that's been going on with scams. And that's really interesting because I have a whole bunch of material on scams because you actually sent me some stuff. And we're always educating everyone on this because that's all we really can do, right, with this. I mean, I think
Well,
at least once a day I'm getting some kind of scam thing. My husband just the other day, got something, it was one of those that I get all the time, that your norovirus computer thing, thank you. And it's like, looks like an invoice. Thank you for, re-registering this. If you did not, if you have a question, call it. And it looks all very legit. So Otto, you want to share a little what you've been
yeah,
struggling with?
actually, my wife was the victim of identity theft. When we first detected it, it was back like last September, and got all these letters. I won't mention the name of the bank because I don't think it was the bank's fault, but then again, who knows, right? but
Mhm.
Bank A, we get this letter, oh, welcome, to our bank with here's your checking account and savings account information. I figured it was one of those come on jobs and I just threw it away. But then a little later, we got another letter that says, okay, your checks that you sent to Geico have bounced. Uh, and there was a whole like $1,300 worth of stuff they said we owe. And if we didn't straighten it out, we would be
Yeah.
reported to a collection agency. All right. So now what? Uh, I take this information, I go to the branch of the bank that happened to be here. Um, and I'm going to mention the name because they actually didn't do a bad job and we don't use
Mhm.
the bank, but Santander. Um, and they had a branch and I go to the branch and the people there were very, very helpful. I gave them all the documentation, showed them everything. And yes, they check and they find out that it was opened with my wife's social security number um, and blah, blah. So now we got to go through a whole hoop-de-doo and I get involved with identitytheft.gov and they try to guide you through the whole process. Police reports,
Mm.
copies of this, copies of that. I got to file that fat. All right.
Mm.
So finally we get that one straightened out. And about a month ago, we get a 1099 from a bank called Varo with saying we had $30 in interest. All right. Well, we don't
Oy
have an
vey.
account with that bank. So now, okay, now what? Oh, okay, we got to go through this whole hoop-de-doo. And in this particular case, there were no branches. It's sounds like it's basically an internet bank.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I go through the whole hoop-de-doo of identity theft, reporting it. They actually help you report it to the credit agencies and, you know, they guide you basically. They do a nice thing of here's a checklist, do these things, all right? And then the credit agencies get advised that to put an alert on for any fraudulent activity
Right.
and blah, blah. So we finally got that squared away last week, this week actually. I had to send, uh, again, it's a whole hoop-de-doo. You got to have pictures of passports uh, with the person holding the passport. And,
Wow.
it's a very complicated, and I don't know that this is over. And I can't
Yeah.
tell you where it starts. I don't know. Where did my wife's information basically sounds like it was social security number,
Yeah. That's
uh,
what I was just gonna ask you.
get discovered and allow them to open bank accounts. The bank actually, these had to all be done online because there's no picture, no
Mhm.
ID, show me your driver's license with your picture and this or that. Apparently that wasn't in the process. So these accounts were open
Well, Otto,
online.
have you ever received a letter from a medical facility or a bank or these credit agencies that says, oh,
Your social.
recently our database
Yeah.
was, whatever, infiltrated and your information has been, given, they stole your information. I feel like a lot of people, this could potentially be one of those, maybe that's how they got her information from one of these.
Well, and the other part of it,
They,
frankly, is you never know, like over time, where you answered an email or something. Like,
right.
my wife is a smart lady, but she's not as savvy about this stuff as I am. So she
Mhm.
might have answered something 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and
Yeah.
and then they just built up this information about somebody, um, and away you go. So. I guess the bottom line here is that
Mm.
if you see something that looks wrong, do something about it then. Don't wait until it gets, really built up. Like so far, this is two banks. I really don't know how much further it's going to go. The first one was discovered by us last September. So this is 6 months ago. Uh, but the second one just came up uh, about a month ago where we got the
Yeah.
1099. with $30 of interest income.
And with interest, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Like
that's
on what? I
crazy.
don't even have an account with your bank.
yeah.
Well, you
So,
have to block and freeze all your, with
well,
it,
I
with it.
did, but here the problem, frankly, was initially, and the bank they actually did become very responsive,
Hmm.
Varo, uh, but it's an online, I think, more so, bank, all right? So it was difficult to find out where to go and what to do
Yeah.
with it. So I went to identitytheft.gov, reported it on there, and then you get a report, which you have to have. And then I had to go to police station, get a
Yeah. It's
police
a lot.
report,
That's so
the whole
much.
bit, with her Bunny, because it was
Yeah.
her whose ID
Right.
was stolen. So it becomes a real hassle. But so far, it's limited to that. All right.
Hmm.
Where am I going with this? Uh, you have to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
You
Well,
got to
that's
report
really,
it.
that's so important because, I mean, listen, not that it's good that happened to you, but you are a very thorough person that will follow through on these things. And unfortunately, there's so many people, that it could be for the tiniest amount. I mean, I know so many people that their credit cards were being hit like every month with a small nominal thing, right? So you're not really paying attention. It's $2 here, $5 here, and then that's just, I mean, adding up. So like I'm paranoid, about stuff like that because, there have been
That's a
little instances,
test.
luckily nothing major
That's a
that
test.
I've
They'll put these
yeah.
small charges
Yeah,
through.
these right just to play, just to see, and then you're just not, but it's so important, and my husband on his card pays for an identity theft thing. So there's like, I think it's like $15 a month or something that, they monitor. And if there's any, and he's gotten, alerts before, I think I've mentioned on the show that, they're saying, oh, like your name has appeared in the dark web. And we're like, what? So like, but at least there's something else monitoring because there's things that, as on top of things as you could be, we're not, how would we ever know that his name showed up on the dark web, unless it was this, other entity, so for us, it's worth paying that extra charge every, because it really is a hassle. And luckily, you're taking the steps too, but look at it, it's like, you just don't even know when it's going to end. And I think about, it's so easy for these places, they have these technology things and they can hack into stuff. And then, you don't even know half the times, like, did I put my social security on something that's just kind of floating around in the atmosphere? It's really things that, because I was left with my mom, like if she's filling out paperwork, she just doesn't even put it in, like, because a lot of times you'll be at the doctor's office and they'll ask for whatever it might be. And she's like, I'm not like just gonna have it on this random piece of paper floating around my social, with my name and address. I mean, you only need some information to really, take over, which is terrifying, So I think it is so important because unfortunately, all you can do, Otto, is what you said, is just like monitor and be aware and pay attention to all of these things.
And
Beck, and
report.
I've gotten, yeah, and,
Well,
and
You should
report,
report.
exactly, report.
as far as
And,
credit
I get
cards,
those,
I'm sorry, but as far as
yeah,
credit cards go, the easiest thing to do, and everybody should do it,
mhm,
is to put an alert in that says if
yep,
your card is used, but the card was
yeah, but the
not
card's not
present,
present.
all
Yeah,
right, you want to
hmm,
get an email or a text
yep,
message, all right?
yep,
So
that's what
you
we do too.
instantly know that
Hmm.
this thing was used. Okay, yes, it's me. I
Hmm.
automatically pay my electric bill or whatever.
Hmm.
There was no
Right.
card present, but yes, I know. But all of a
Yeah.
sudden you get one from Venezuela and it says
Right.
the card wasn't present,
Hmm.
for $2 or whatever. No, that's not me, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's simple enough to do.
Hmm.
Contact the credit card
Absolutely.
company
When
and
I
tell
was
them.
in Italy this summer,
Oh, yes.
I told my credit card company and my bank that I would be abroad and that, that just so that I could have access to my accounts when I'm away, not thinking about fraud. And what happened was one of my last days in Italy, I got a call from the fraud department
Mhm.
that someone used, this was my ATM. Somehow they were able to withdraw cash. I don't know
Mhm.
how, at an ATM in Amityville on Long Island. So the person identified themselves from the fraud department, blah, blah, blah. They gave some information. I was still kind of apprehensive about even talking to them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, right.
they said, someone had been using your card, and I said, well, I'm not even in the United States right now. So they were able to, cancel my ATM. Unfortunately, I still needed it, but that's the whole other story. But it's so important, Otto, to have your fail safe. If you're traveling, even if you're going to Florida, or if you're going
Yeah,
somewhere,
absolutely.
let them know, because they might lock your card if they see you at a gas station in Connecticut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's good to let them know. And look what happened. They were the ones that caught, because I told them I was going to be out of the country, that they saw my ATM being used on Long Island.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. And
you're
listen,
so
it's
right,
so
Otto.
important.
You
You're
have
right.
You
to.
I
got to
did
do
that
it.
when I went to Florida about 4 weeks ago. I told them I would be in Florida from this date to this date. The credit card company does have the ability online to do that. That if you're going to be
Yeah.
in another location, um,
No, and that's what I think you have to, as Beck was saying, do these fail safes. And this is quite timely because if you were listening to this show live, it's March 8th. And then March 7th, just yesterday, they actually have a day that the Social Security Administration did called National Slam the Scam Day. So they're really just trying to raise awareness, and they were saying how important it is about educating about these government imposter scams, letting you know that you should not be embarrassed to report, and if you shared personal information or suffered a financial loss, it's so important to report the scam as quickly as possible. And they even had on it, we talk a lot on this show about AI, right? They have a whole new brochure, and I actually reached out to them to see if they're able to get some kind of representative on the show about this, because there's a whole thing now, and it's called the emerging threat artificial intelligence. And it's a really interesting little thing, just telling you the three terms to know. Chatbots. A chatbot is a computer program that may use AI to simulate human conversation and could be used maliciously to obtain, store, or manipulate your personal data. Two, voice cloning technology. Voice cloning uses AI to mimic the voice of someone you may know. Three, deep fakes. A deep fake is an authentic looking AI generated video or image. I think we've all seen these things, in the media now, but I think it's important to be familiar, with this, because it's a foreign concept to most of us. So it's saying to watch out for AI powered scams, phishing attacks. Using AI, scammers can quickly personalize phishing emails, imitate dialogue, and bypass spam filters, making it harder for individuals to distinguish between genuine and fraudulent communications.
Scary.
Family emergency scams. Scammers can utilize voice cloning and deep fakes to impersonate a loved one who claims they are in danger and need money. And that's even scary because, we've been dealing with this kind of scam for a while, but now that they have the technology to imitate the voice of the person, so there's just different layers being put on this. And then of course there's the romance scam. Fraudsters can use AI technology to operate fake profiles on dating websites and social media platforms. AI powered chatbots then simulate realistic conversation to build trust, and the goal of tricking the target into sending them money. So I just think it's really important that they're doing this now, and really educating. And there were some tips also in this brochure. Do not share sensitive information via phone, email, text, or even social media. Do not transfer or send money to unknown locations. Consider using a safe word. Otto, I know we've talked about this before, for your family that is only shared with family members and close contacts. Do not provide any personal or sensitive information to an online chatbot, and report potential scams to the authorities and the companies involved. And they give a whole bunch of you can contact the Federal Trade Commission or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, as well. And there's a fraud hotline that they gave out for, and this is all part of the United States Senate Special Committee on Aging. So this fraud hotline they have is 1-855 303 9470. And there's a really good book they also came out with called Fighting Fraud. And it's like an 80-page booklet. But when I was doing research about this, I saw it, and it had a lot of good information. So if anyone, would like a copy, please call 311 or 516-869-6311.
Otto has his hand up. I
Otto,
do too.
I will certainly, I knew you'd be up there. So after we were talking, Otto, I deep dived into all this stuff. So I will certainly send you stuff. So it's just important, right? And
it's getting tougher and tougher because of this AI.
mhm.
Really is. It's almost to the point, one of the ones that I do now, you get a link in an email. I don't necessarily
Yep.
go to the website with
Yep.
that link. I'll
Exactly.
go to the website directly.
Mhm.
Um,
Great tip.
All right, listen, we got to take a quick break, but after the break, Kristina, Otto, and I will continue talking about what's going on in the town of North Hempstead. You're listening to Project Independence in You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. We're just talking to Kristina and Otto about what's going on in the town of North Hempstead.
Yes. Well, once again, if you were listening to this show live on March 8th, tomorrow is an event that a lot of our PI members love. Saturday, March 9th is the Stop program at North Hempstead Beach Park. It is between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And this is a reason, and this is how you know spring's here, to do some preliminary spring cleaning, bring your aerosols, household chemicals, pesticides, disinfectants, fertilizers, bulbs, thermostats, rechargeable and lithium batteries, TVs and computers. Of course, you could bring stuff to shred. You're allowed to bring 6 legal boxes per vehicle. They also will be accepting some gently used and working clothes, some stuffed animals, electronics, toys, sporting equipment, shoes, books, area rugs, picture frames, lamps, silverware, glassware, dishes, cosmetics, which I think is so great because you could really bring, and there's wonderful little stops that you're able to go to and they'll help you take this out. I know Otto is, Otto, will you be attending this one? Or are you saving it
I
all
am,
up for the
I'm,
June?
yes, I have a big pile of shredding again.
Okay.
My suggestion, you have a box for
Yeah.
shredding, and anything that you think is even close to maybe having anything on it worthwhile, like you get these health insurance claim reports, which I
Mm-hmm.
now try to do electronic. All of it, I try to do that, but you get Medicare statements or whatever. I'm
Right.
really not sure what's on that. So don't even think about it. Just throw it in the shredding box and shred anything that you think might give somebody information that you don't want them to have, or they might
Great.
find valuable. I don't
No,
know
that's
what they
certainly
use.
tied into our last segment about scams.
Yeah.
So it really is important, and what's so great about this event is, we've all been there and we've laughed about it many times on the show because, we all have our personal little shredders that somehow burn out, if you put too many papers in. So what's so great about this stop program is that you're able to, industrial, and you can watch your stuff being shredded in these giant trucks very quickly, and in bulk quantity, certainly. So I love Otto says, he keeps his box there. He throws the stuff in that box, and then you're ready to go to do this. So I always think that's
Well,
a
my
great tip.
shredder has become a decorative piece. It's back here. This is the
Yes.
shredder.
Yes, my shredder has relocated to the garage and might even have some stuff inside it now, as just like a storage
You
unit.
know what? I was just thinking, I swear, I have to open that thing and see what's in there.
Yes, but I do believe I was like putting something. I was like, oh, this is a good spot for it. But yeah, so I will put that on my to-do list as well, Otto. So everyone certainly go. If you are unable to make that one, the next one coming up is Saturday, June 29th, and that's at the Westbury High School. But you can give us a call and we will certainly give you any of those important dates as well. I had another thing here. Oh, and then in that same kind of realm, we e-waste. We just want to remind people it is no longer accepted at Sunday resident drop-off. It can be disposed of at certain town events. And as I had mentioned before, this stop program is one of them as well, that you are able to get rid of all e-waste. So that's everything from computers and TVs and phones. I mean, I have a whole collection of, old cell phones that could probably be a good thing for this. So really good information. Once again, call 311 for that.
Shed the
Um,
Meds will be coming up soon.
yes, I haven't. I'm going to actually mark that down because I haven't received anything about that, and I want to look into to when that is too.
Well, one
Um,
tip, by the way,
yeah,
as a
yeah.
result of having to go to the police station to get a police
Hmm.
report for the ID theft, in
Hmm.
the lobby of the police station, they have a Shed the Meds
The
box.
box. Yep.
So if you got a lot of stuff and you want to get rid of it, you can go there.
Yes. Great, great. I'm glad you mentioned that again because that's something that had shipped over, in many, many years ago. When we had the stop programs, you could also dispose of medicine, but what they realized was the most beneficial was to bring it and safest to bring it to a police, station that has that box there, year round. And this way your medication is safely, received and disposed of properly. So and that goes for over the counter as well as prescription too. So great tip, Otto. That's certainly something I want everyone to be reminded of. Um, our Project Independence e-newsletter hit earlier this week, which seems like it was a while ago, but it was just, it's only March 6th, pre-recorded right now. So in the e-newsletter, March is National Nutrition Month. We will actually have a nutrition this topic for our next Project Independence advisory meeting, which is on March 20th. If I can get to that page, it's quite a long newsletter. So this we're going to have Karen Shaban, who is a registered dietitian over at Northwell Health, and she is going to be presenting at the advisory on Spring into Wellness series, Nutrition and Wellness. It's going to be at Clinton G. Martin Park, of course, but it is also virtual. March 20th. You can call 311 to register. It starts at 10 a.m., but it's really great. She sent over a presentation, and there's a lot of great information in this. So it really goes in with March being Nutrition Month.
Well, how do you two do on nutrition? Do you follow the rules or do you stray once in a while?
I'm a strayer, right? So I'm definitely not a stickler in life, but that's what I like about a lot of these things, is that they're practical tips. So this year's, and I like to everyone knows I love a golden nugget. And I think overall, when you incorporate just, one or two of these things, it makes a difference. I think a lot of us get, overwhelmed when you think, oh my God, I need to revamp my whole thing, and that's the thing I brought up, for the last couple of weeks. My mom's on this journey of really trying to get weight, and it's things are different. Here she's old, she's almost 70, my mom, and she was saying, in the past, if you eliminated sweets, all of a sudden the weight would just kind of fly off you. But now she's older, right? So she's 70 years old, she's not super active, so it's definitely a harder journey. So she's having to figure out different things, and what to eat and what not to eat. So, but I said, and I said, like to her, like just like the littlest changes, you just have to stick with it, and then you can gradually add stuff. But this year's Nutrition Month theme is Beyond the Table. So March is National Nutrition Month, and everyone is invited to learn about making informed food choices and developing healthy eating and physical habits. So this year's theme, Beyond the Table, addresses farm to fork aspect of nutrition, from food production and distribution to navigating grocery stores and farmer market, even food home safety and storage practices, which is certainly things that we've talked a lot about on this show, which were some of my favorite segments, I must say. And it's really just telling you about sustainability, how to decrease food waste, and just healthy eating is how to really incorporate that. So I added to the newsletter this great link that was all about this, and it was make half your plate fruits and vegetables. So that was a solid little golden nugget tip. And we hear this all the time, and I think about this is something I actually do think about. When you look at your plate, the more colors, really the better. It's like a solid rule of thumb. And that's something that always kind of sticks from this show, I must say, because many years ago we had Cornell Cooperative on the show where they talked about this. And they were saying, Thanksgiving, you think about a lot of times, your Thanksgiving plate, and it could be very monotone and bland because it's a lot of carbs, and everything is kind of the same color. But they were saying, just by adding in some greenery or, some orange things, how it really just ups the nutrition value of your plate. So just to keep that in the back of your mind, I think is something that's really a
Well,
good thing to do.
let me ask Beck a question. When you
Yeah.
go to London, are you going to have fish and chips?
Absolutely. See, I like
Okay.
what Kristina just used a good word, and that's incorporate food, healthy
Mhm.
food into your diet. I feel that when you restrict or
Yes. You
label
want it even
food
more,
as
right?
bad,
Yeah.
it makes your relationship with food like toxic. And well, if
Yes.
I'm eating something that's bad, I ruined it for the day. I'm bad, so I've been on every kind of diet my entire life. I've always been doing something. But as I get older, I do much better when I really focus on calorie deficit
Yeah.
and not crazy. And, if I want to have a snack, because Kristina knows all about my sweet, sweet need
Yes.
to have
But we
some
both did indulge in a couple of
yesterday.
cakes at a birthday party yesterday. But we were just celebrating, and we were, they were small slivers, right? So instead of having a giant, there was three different cakes. So what are we supposed to do? Not try them all? I mean, let's be real.
Come on.
We're doing a
Well,
service to our
that's
community.
interesting.
Um,
Over the weekend, I was visiting our son in Damascus, Pennsylvania. 9-year-old grandson was playing basketball, so we went for the game. But we went to dinner after. And at the dinner, we spared nothing. We got appetizers, um, and then we had a meal, and then me,
dessert.
I'm let's say I can control myself with sweets. I really don't eat them, but I
Mhm.
like them. Uh,
Yeah.
so I said, "What about dessert?" Okay. So the next thing you know, we got cream brulee or whatever, uh, and we had a couple of things: strawberry shortcake, chocolate mousse,
Mm,
whatever, and we
mm.
divide this among the six of us,
Yeah.
and
That's a
it's
reliever.
good.
A little taste goes a long way,
Yeah.
and I think that, I agree with Beck, that is important, to, certainly, incorporate these things and these tips. And so another one was make at least half your grains whole grains. So choosing bread, cereals, crackers, and noodles made with 100% whole grains is really the way to go. And of course, obviously, certain people, I want to be clear, this is just general statements. You have certain dietary restrictions, and it's really
Right.
important to
Right.
always talk to a
Yep.
doctor or nutritionist based upon your certain thing. And also, Otto, I know you do this, and I want to get back to the fruits and vegetables, because many a times on this show we've discussed that, frozen vegetables and fruits are actually like okay to use. Everyone thinks, oh no, everything has to be fresh, but and you have to be careful of the way it's packaged, and certainly with cans, you don't want all this salt and stuff. But there really are a lot of alternatives, so you could have a bigger shelf life. I mean, we always talk about berries and how they
Yeah.
they
Now,
are good one
interesting
day and bad the next.
you bring that up, but I got a new thing that I've been doing lately.
Oh,
Uh,
give us your golden
First of
nugget,
all, I
Otto.
like a really good muffin of a lot of different kinds, like banana nut,
Agreed.
pistachio,
I'm
whatever.
with you,
All
my
right.
friend.
Especially the tops.
Yeah,
So
the
yeah,
top.
so I
I'm with
have
you.
some mornings that'll be my breakfast with a boiled egg or whatever.
Hmm.
But I try to go with the Cheerios and the bran flakes and the whatever.
Hmm.
And what been doing recently is I got these wild blueberries that are frozen, and I put them in
Mm.
the bottom of the cereal bowl, put
Hmm.
that in the microwave for 25 seconds to semi-defrost the blueberries, and then put the cereal on top of the blueberries. And it works out pretty good.
There you go. See, and that's like you're
Yeah.
just incorporating things, and like you just made something more. Because I think when you're enjoying what you're eating is really important, too. So this, then the next one was switch to fat-free or low-fat milk, yogurt, and cheese. Vary your protein choices. That's really something that my mom had to work on, because a lot of the things she was drawn to were more carby things, and she was saying she actually would feel her body like craving protein. So it's really important to do that, and it certainly can fill you up, with better calories. Limit sodium, saturated fat, and added sugars. Stay well hydrated. Of course, you hear this all the time, how important that is. Enjoy your food, but be mindful of portion sizes. This is something that I think is a bit of a struggle, right? Because you think, oh, it's healthy. I could eat like and that's not always how it works. Portion size is still a part of the puzzle of things. Cook more at home. This way you're controlling what is going into it. Unfortunately, no one loves takeout more than me. But you really don't know how much sodium is going in that, what kind of sugars, what kind of oils, so you're really, if you are trying to get on a healthier lifestyle journey, cooking more at home, you're able to control these things. And I know myself, I do feel, less bloated and stuff when I'm doing it myself. So, and of course, it's really great. You can contact a nutritionist. So many nutritionists are actually covered under various insurances, obviously, depending on what you have. But there's really great tips. Once again, this was part of the newsletter. If you received it, you just click on the link and you can get all this. So throughout March and coming up, I have a whole bunch of other tips and tricks because I love a good bulleted tip and how to do stuff on a budget too. But if you are not receiving the email newsletter, please call 311 and we would love to have you a part of it. So I know we are rapidly in the last segment and so many things to go over. So I will just hit some key points. The Fridays at Yes We Can Community Center kicked off this week with a smashing success. So you are able to still partake in that. The exercise for balance and strength is closed out though, but there's Let the Games Begin, and that's with Nurse Kelly. What in the world is going on? Heart-to-heart bingo and blood pressure screening. So there's a lot more that you can participate in, even though the other fall prevention is closed out. So that's Fridays, starting at 9:30 a.m. over at the Yes We Can Community Center, but please call 311 to register for that. The St. Francis cardiac screening van is making its rounds in March. We had our first one this week also. That was at the Yes We Can Community Center. And then March 22nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. it will be over at Clinton G. Martin Park. So you don't need to make an appointment, you just show up for that. We have our men's group that's on Fridays. We have our Blankets of Love group that's on Tuesdays at Clinton G. Martin Park. Our bridge classes over at Yes We Can. Our social discussing group, which is virtual, and that's on Thursdays. There's a lot of great stuff. Our Golden Hearts bingo and blood pressure screenings program that is over at Roslyn Community Center on Thursdays. And then we're doing a really important program in conjunction with United Way called Project Warmth Emergency Fuel Fund, Keeping Long Islanders Warm. This is Friday, March 15th. And Project Warmth, we've had this on the show before, but they do a one-time grant to individuals or families that could not pay their heating bill. You need to bring your electricity bill and gas bill the day of the event. You don't need to make an appointment, but you can call 311 to get some specific information on that. And our smart van will be coming March 19th, Fuchsia Park. That's all questions technology. So bring your phone, bring your laptop, your tablet, whatever it might be, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You do not need to make an appointment for that either, which I think is so wonderful.
Yep.
So once again, call 311 for any of these stuff. Our spring fling has a couple of spots left too. Call 311-516-869. 6311.
I think we're almost closed by the time this show airs. I'm sure it'll be closed out for spring.
Right. Yeah, I know. Who knows? Right. But just call 311 always.
Okay. Well, I can't believe it, but that's it. So I want to thank everybody for listening to Project Independence in You Talk of the Town. I'd like to thank, of course, Kristina and Otto for a great show. Project Independence in You is a production of Long Island University Public Radio. Dan Cox is the engineer. Join us again next Friday at 10 a.m. on LIU Public Radio. Goodbye and have a great weekend.